The way our eyes see and process colors is very different from the way our digital devices record them. White balance is key in determining the accuracy of the color in your photos. Understanding how to calibrate white balance in camera is how you can achieve those bright whites and accurate colors you see in professional food and product photos using a DSLR. Hey guys, Tawny of Replica Surfaces here. In this video, we're going to cover how to identify color temperature, how to select the best lighting conditions, how to white balance in camera, and how to make the final touches in Lightroom. So let's get to it. Before we can choose the correct lighting and choose the camera settings, we need to quickly explain the concept of color temperature so that we can identify when the whites and colors in our photos look off and why they look off. When the colors in your photo look off, it's not you, it's your light. This is because every light source has a distinct color and temperature, ranging from cool to warm, which leads to different hues in your final photos. While your eyes are able to visualize a piece of white paper as true white, even if your lighting has a yellow hue, your camera will see the paper as yellow due to the yellow color that the light is casting on it. Unless, of course, you help your camera by white balancing. Bear with me while we get nerdy for a second because I think it's important to understand how we measure color temperature. If your light has a tint on the lower end of the color temperature scale, around 2000 to 4000 Kelvin, your whites will come across as more red, orange, or yellow. As you tip toward the other end of the scale, at 7000 to 9000 Kelvin, the overall color will begin to turn blue. In the middle of the scale is around 55 to 5600 Kelvin, and that is where you'll find the most neutral light temperature. Okay, that's enough nerding out. So you've got to be wondering, how in the world do I fix these warm and cool tones in my photos when they arise? The key is choosing the most neutral lighting condition, because a light that is neutral in color temperature will help you achieve proper white balance. If you have additional light coming from ambient lights on in your home or studio, rather than artificial lights specifically positioned to light your scene, your camera will notice and you will see orange or blue hues in the shadows and highlights, where they definitely shouldn't be. So let's talk about 2 ways you can calibrate your white balance in camera. But first, let's tap those like and subscribe buttons really quick. It really helps us make more of these videos for you. There are 2 main ways to white balance in camera, using the automatic white balance setting or using the custom white balance setting. If you've never changed or altered the white balance on your DSLR before, then you are likely already operating on the automatic white balance mode, and that's totally fine. For the most part, your camera does a pretty good job of correcting the color when this option is selected. Of course, there are a few exceptions. For example, maybe you left the overhead ambient lights on for your entire photo shoot. Your camera may recognize the ambient light as the target neutral, and it thinks it needs to overcompensate. Let's check out this pan of cinnamon buns. It has taken on a weird orange tone due to the auto white balance calibration, and it has double the shadows due to the ambient lights. It thinks it fixed the emitting yellow hues of the overhead lights, but instead it caused the white pan to turn yellow. Compare that with the photo of the same cinnamon buns with the ambient lights off. No more extra shadows, and those whites are pretty spot on considering the auto white balance. If auto white balance isn't making your whites and colors as true to life as you'd like, take it to the next level by using the custom white balance setting. Custom white balance requires a separate tool to properly calibrate the light temperature for your camera, either a gray card or an expo disc. Show your camera what a neutral gray looks like in your particular lighting conditions. This will allow it to apply that information to your photos and correct for any warm or cool lighting. Check out this pie scene, also shot with ambient lights on accidentally, but the white balance was calibrated using custom white balance. I want you to see how the warm tones in this photo tricked the camera into thinking it needed to overcorrect with added blue tones. Ultimately, it just ends up looking a little washed out and blah. But now let's look at the same scene with the expo disc used to calibrate using custom white balance. See the difference? The colors are correct, the tones look more true to life, much better. The expo disc will accomplish the same result as a gray card. It gives your camera a way to easily measure the correct color in any lighting situation. Now that your white balance is as good as you can get it in camera, it's time to add some finishing edits in Lightroom. In Adobe Lightroom CC, the eyedropper is located under the Color tab. In these versions, the eyedropper is actually called the White Balance Selector. We'll call it WBS for short. In Adobe Lightroom Mobile, the WBS can be found in a similar fashion. After you locate and select the white balance tool, the cursor will turn into a different little crosshair tool on the outside of your selected image, but it will have a pixelated section next to your cursor that will show you an up-close view of every single pixel color to choose from in the image. Find an area of your photo that looks neutral gray to your eye, like the edge of the bottle here, and hover over it. In Lightroom CC, you actually have to select the target neutral to see the change it will make. So, got your white balance almost perfect when you notice some odd green hues where they shouldn't be. This is where a small adjustment to the tint slider can come into play. If you see some green hues, slide it toward the pink side ever so slightly. The tint slider is less important than the temp slider and should be used sparingly when editing. However, color tint does play a role in your food photography and your product photography. There's a reason it's called white balance. You need the correct combination of color temperature and color tint under your natural or artificial lighting conditions in order to achieve the whitest whites in your photos. And that's that. Thank you so much for watching. Please take a quick moment to comment, like, subscribe. We have a lot more videos coming your way. Come join the VIP community to be the first to know about the live video premieres on YouTube and to get the first look at limited releases before they become available. We'll see you there.